All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Um, so just some ground rules as we get started. Um, I ask that we treat each other with respect. We try to keep it so that only one person is talking at a time. We just be respectful of everyone's time. So make sure we're not trying to like talk too much or like jump in on other people's times that they're sharing. And also just remember that we might talk about some things that are personal, and just remember that what is discussed in this meeting stays in this meeting. So as we get started, I wanted to do a little bit of an icebreaker. Um, so mine it's gonna be a little like out of our comfort zone probably, but that's okay. So the question is, sorry about if you hear the dinging in the background also. Things happen. My cat is playing with a toy and I can't stop that. So I'm so sorry about that ahead of time. The icebreaker is it's a question, and it is, what is one song or artist that you are embarrassed to admit that you listen to or like? And I will start. I will get it right out of the way. Um, I actually like one K-pop group, so Korean pop group, and they're called Stray Kids. I am obsessed, and I I have like no shame. I blast the music on my car drive. I don't care. It is embarrassing, but it's fine. So that's me. Anybody want to go next?
I'll go next. There are so many embarrassing songs I listen to, but the first one that pops into mind is Love Shack is a little old place where we can get together. Love Shack, baby. Yeah, so that's one of many.
I love that song. No, that's not embarrassing at all. I love that song. That song played at my wedding. So that is a great song to dance it out to. So I love that. Thank you. I might go play that later. Anybody want to go next?
Um, well, my guilty pleasure music is yacht rock, and I specifically listen to that on Wednesdays. We have soft rock Wednesdays every single week. It's cheesy, but the cheese makes it extra good, I think.
I've never heard. I will look that up and I will report back
You
on
have
my
to.
opinion. But I'm willing to try anything new at this point. Whoever wants to go next.
I'll go ahead. Everyone, I feel like this is a 50-50 split between people loving this band and people not, but Dave Matthews Band. And I like me some Spice Girls. I don't know, 90s.
Yes, I love that. I love that for you. Yes, do you know all the Spice Girls names?
Listen, you didn't say we're quizzing, okay? I'm not ready for that. It's been a long day. Today's breaker went too far.
Whoever wants to go next.
This is a controversial one. People love her and they hate her, but I am a Taylor Swift girl. And I grew up with her music, so I am definitely, that's my guilty pleasure.
Old Taylor Swift or new Taylor Swift? Gotta know.
I prefer old, but I can get into some of the new stuff.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
I was gonna say that I get held hostage by my fiance to listen to Taylor Swift. That's I don't ever choose to, but unfortunately, I know the words to some songs, and I'm not proud of it.
Is there any specific song?
I could tell you songs I don't like. I think more than I could tell you any that I do like.
Okay, we
I'm
won't
just
go
wondering,
there.
can you give us some lyrics? Can you sing it so we can
I
follow?
could. I think we were running out of time though. I think.
Oh, Ben, it seems like your mic might have cut out there. All right, that was great. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. I know it can get a little out of our comfort zone there, but thank you all. And Christy D, I can't wait to look up what that is because I've never heard, so I'm excited. All right, so the topic that I chose, it's about requirements for like working in this field. And so there's a little bit of a blurb that I have beforehand. Um, so feel free to also like comment on it later on whatever I say. But like, so we're all here. We're all here for a reason, and we all have like the same goal in mind. We want to get at least a master's degree in social work and or potentially get licensed and become LCSWs in the future. So with that like in mind is that we all have this common goal of like education to then practice in the field. Some jobs, not just like some jobs in this field, they require different levels of education. Some can get through with like just a bachelor's, some need a master's, some need the licensing. While other fields, like not the one that came to my mind when I was thinking about this was like the police and law enforcement, where like they have to go through all of these like tests and they have to go through like physicals and exams and they have to pass all these things. But then in order to actually like be in the field and carry a taser gun and like pepper spray, you have to be tasered and pepper sprayed. So with that in mind, I like I don't know if anybody else heard this, but I've gotten it a couple times where like people kind of they're like, "Oh, if you don't have a mental health counselor or if you don't see a therapist yourself, what gives you the right to practice or tell me that I should see a therapist if you're not seeing one yourself?" I don't know if anybody else has gotten that message before or just like heard it in passing or in a class, but sometimes like that makes me go, "Oh, you know, maybe you're right. Maybe some people shouldn't be practicing if they don't already see a therapist and understand the process." But also I see the like other side of it where it's like, good for that person for maybe not needing one. So why should we require them to have one? So I kind of wanted to get everybody's like opinions on this subject and whether you think that just being able to be like educated and licensed or even just a master's should be enough to practice in social work and or even just health fields like in general, or if maybe there should be a little bit more of a tougher requirement like having to be evaluated by a therapist or having to at least be actively seeing one. Or if there's something outrageous that you think should happen, like the law enforcement, please let me know with like the I don't think we all want to be pepper sprayed, but you never know. Maybe it'll make you tougher. I don't know. But if anybody has opinions, I'd love to hear what you think about this subject and or even how you handle that like getting a message like that while you're practicing. I know it's a little long, so ask me to repeat.
I'll go first. So, I don't necessarily think that it should be a mandate for social workers or therapists to go to therapy. But I do think that it can help distinguish you as a clinician who is compassionate and knowledgeable about the services that you're providing. And I think that going to therapy as a therapist, for example, can help you be on the other side and experience what your client is experiencing when they're in that room with you. It can be reflective of your own challenges that you're facing. If your therapist said something that kind of rubs you the wrong way or you don't like, you kind of like, oh, maybe that's not something I would say to my client. So I think it can be beneficial in building a therapeutic relationship with your clients and developing that empathy, because you never really know, not that we ever know what our clients are going through, but it's easier to kind of bridge that disconnect if you have been in their position before.
That was a great answer. Thank you. I liked what you said about like bridging the gap. I think that's important. Like when it comes to this sort of topic of like the difference between you as like a provider versus you as just like an individual in like living and existing and same as who you're working with. So I like that term of like it can help bridging the gap. So thank you. Whoever wants to go next.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I never really thought about it. Nobody ever, I never heard anybody say anything about it, but I think that's a good idea now that you bring it up. Like that even if we don't feel like we need a therapist, to like, how they make us do supervision right now. Um, so yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea to require um LMSWs or MSWs or anyone, practicing to be somewhat accountable, like by just maybe going in, I don't know, every 6 months, like you would get a checkup with a doctor and just, you know, have them ask you some questions and see where your head is. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. Yeah.
I definitely feel like the message of like it of kind of what I said of um like, oh, you shouldn't be practicing if you don't see one yourself, or you shouldn't be suggesting this. Like, I feel like that's come up kind of more recently, and it kind of comes in like other types of messages too, where it's like, oh, you don't have kids, so how can you tell me how to parent? Like, so I feel like those messages really do come a lot, but um, yeah, like if you go for like a yearly physical, so what would be the difference of just doing like a twice a year checkup to not only check like on yourself but make sure that you aren't getting burnout, because maybe that's where you can address that in a way instead of having to do it on your own, where you're like, oh, I'm burnt out, let me go do some self-care. Oh, I know that I'm going to meet with somebody in 6 months so I can kind of address and maybe they can help me out. So like that's kind of a great idea where like if you're not seeing them monthly, at least maybe regularly, kind of like a yearly checkup or twice a year. So I like that idea. Thank you, Della.
I
Um,
have. Oh.
oh, go ahead.
So I think that for insight, kind of how Dana was saying, it's never bad to experience or have similar or shared experiences with your clients. So I work in a hospital right now. It's a very different situation to be the patient than it is to be the medical staff. And I do think that there are times when medical staff forgets what it's like to be on the receiving end of care and how scary it is to have a loved one in the hospital. That being said, I don't have to have a heart condition to be a cardiologist. So it can be good, and if it's something you want to set up for yourself to have as part of your support system, part of your self-care plan, something to rely on for when you do become overwhelmed, that is good. Most insurance won't let you just do it willy-nilly, um, or just for S and Gs. So there is the requirement for you to have like a treatment plan and a diagnosis and stuff like that. Um, so it might not always be something that's possible or feasible, but if someone is deflecting like that when you're offering a suggestion or a solution to a problem, it's because they just don't want that answer. So I try not to ever really take it that personal when someone directs something like that at me.
I think with along that point where if it were to even be like a requirement, then maybe the field that you're going into or the workplace should be the one to pay for it and provide that service to you. If they're going to require it, then why not, like, hold us to it by being the ones to pay for it? And so like I think I like that situation where, if you're going to make me do it, if you're going to make me practice and like practice what I preach almost type of thing, where I'm gonna experience it too, then I feel like if they should kind of take responsibility for my like cost of it. So I think if that's what you were kind of getting at too with like the whole situation, I like that. I think that's a great point.
Um, so I do think that in this field that experience goes a long way as well. And I did individual counseling and I've done couples counseling, and both my husband and I are big advocates for couples counseling. So we are like, I'm able to speak from the experience. When we have friends around us that are struggling, like we always talk about like how great it was and how beneficial it is, even when things are good. It just is a good check-in. And so being able to speak from experience, I think is helpful. And then, for, I know that maybe not many, the places that I work for have a EAP programs, so they offer those counseling things, or so many sessions. I guess it depends on where you're at and how much that's pushed and how much it's, reminded to you that, hey, you have these sessions and whatnot. But that can also be limited because that is up to a clinician in the area to accept that insurance. So sometimes that is limited. Um, but yeah, I don't think it should be a requirement, but I think it is super beneficial.
I feel like along those lines, it's like with the insurances and finding somebody who would accept it. Like that is a barrier, as we've already discussed about social determinants of health. It's a barrier to like for like medical and insurance. So I feel like it could get tricky where if the job were to require it and you don't want to see the person that they have because maybe that's not like where your like mind is or your interest is in like receiving services, then that might be another barrier because then you're going to see somebody that you don't want to see, even if it was some like required. Like you're not, you might, I feel like, start to kind of dislike the job if they're forcing you to see a clinician who doesn't kind of who doesn't practice like what you're interested in like receiving services in. So that's another like thing to think about if this were to be mandated or not mandated in a certain job. So thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, Ben.
I actually wanted to comment on something Christy N said because when she said how important experience is, that's kind of something I've gotten a lot too in the field. Is it commented on being young, and a lot of the I haven't had an instance where I've not been younger than clients to this point. Uh, and normally I I don't think anything of it at this point, because it's whatever. But sometimes they do, they definitely do. And like Christy and all of you have said, it's a lot of what do you know, if you haven't had the life experiences that I've had, if you basically, I don't know anything, is what I've been told. And it's fair because I never try to tell them, like, oh, I know exactly what you've been through. I know exactly how you're feeling because I don't. But they will assume that I assume that. And I think that's kind of what I like about this field is not that, but I like that it when you're in school and even in jobs, they do a lot of hands-on trainings. You have to do these field practicum hours. In my job, at least, they're constantly offering trainings for how to spot like lethality, for example, or how to work with different populations. Like if it's not an English speaker, what resources do we have? A lot of things that come up, often in the job and where it's best learned doing it in some sort of way. And so I think, as far as experience goes, patients or clients definitely value that a lot. And I think the profession, as a whole does as well.
Thank you, Ben. I feel when it comes to like this topic kind of being brought up, it's not as much the like the clients that even bring it up. It's like the people who are being like educated or with you that kind of bring it up, like coworkers and like I experienced it a lot in my like undergrad where almost everybody was in either receiving like seeing a therapist or seeing the like school therapist or their own wherever it was, and I was one of the ones that was like different because I wasn't, but also social work wasn't my main field, so I got that message a lot, which like felt like I was being signaled out, but also like I had the experience of like working with people in the field already to know like what to expect and kind of how to handle the situation, how to talk to a person. And also with the code of ethics, like we are doing least harm. So if we're not, as long as we're not going in and be like, oh yeah, I know better than you because I don't see a therapist, like I'm just better. As long as you're not going in that way, I feel like the message will come across well and the correct way. And you maybe not, you maybe won't get the message that I got, but um everybody made great points. Thank you. And I there was still like a mixed review. So it's one of those where it might be good to get the experience while it also like there are some barriers to if this were to be implemented in our jobs. But I mean I'm just happy that we're not getting tased. That's it. I kudos to those people who have the desire. But um yeah, if there's so does anybody have any last minute comments or questions or anything they want to add in before we wrap up? No? All right. Well, thank you everybody for participating, and thank you all for also getting out of your comfort zone a little bit and sharing a little bit of a embarrassing detail, but I promise it wasn't that embarrassing. So we will meet again very shortly, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you.